All right. All right. So we are recording now. This is episode 2 of the Media Buyer's Manual. I have a very special guest who I've followed on Twitter for who knows how long. But it's a great follow. David Herrmann, thank you for joining me.
Yeah,
Just take us through a little bit of who you are, where you're from, the amount of money that you've managed for ad spend,
for sure.
and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. Been doing media buying pretty much since the forefront of the whole paid online efforts. I age myself a little bit on this front. I started in the MySpace world, managing bands, and then got into the Google stuff, and then eventually made it over to the paid social side, where I've been doing that since 2011. Kind of been doing that since, and I'm live in Los Angeles in Redondo Beach, California. Basically, it's a suburb of LA. And yeah, man. I mean, it's what I do. Just do the paid, have fun with it. So
Unreal. So anybody that knows you or has followed you, something that's interesting is that you are huge on the police chases. Not too many people know this. We're just going to start a little off topic, but I just want to say they are hilarious. They bring a lot of joy to us throughout this times. And man, just keep rocking through some of those. Those are awesome.
It's our sports, man. So it's all we got. Right?
Exactly. So, it's our motorsports with a little bit of danger involved as well.
Right? I mean, I live, dude. It's funny. Like I know, and like I get tagged on Twitter constantly from people. Like, hey, there's a police chase going on with this live stream, and it's always on. Like I actually have a police scanner in my room here. I don't know what I did with it. It might be upstairs. I actually keep a police scanner on for LAPD, and I'm always listening for the call signs. And when there's a police, so I'm a nerd.
So how do you know when there's a chase going? What's their call sign? What do they say?
So there's different call signs for different cities. But a lot of times how you look for, so like the call sign, I don't know the call signs. I know that in pursuit, they'll always be like, they'll go like Pacific Division in pursuit, 4773, Pacific Division on. And it's like requesting aerial units. And they're like requesting aerial units. I'm like, oh, okay, we got a good one.
Oh yeah, hop on Twitter right there, start the feed in the threads.
Exactly, because if they're requesting an aerial unit, the cost of doing that it's really expensive. It's like $100,000 an hour. And so when they're requesting aerial units, that means this police chase is good. Like,
man.
You know? So yeah, I'm a nerd, man. So
how many of those do you get, like literally every day? Like up here in Canada, for people that don't know, I'm out of Toronto, but we don't really have police chases like that. So we just we're curious. Yeah, we drink our beers. Podcast sponsored by Miller Lite eventually one day. But yeah, like how many do you guys get all the time?
I mean, it depends on the season. This week we've had like 4. I would say at least 2 to 3 times a week.
Shit.
And there's actually there's a guy called Smoke and Scan who literally just smokes weed and live streams police chases from LA. Jesus. It's actually quite entertaining to watch. Like his Twitter handle, I think, is Smoke and Scan.
Okay.
And I don't know the guy, but he seems like he sits at home all day, smokes weed, and watches police chases. I love it. It just brings me joy.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, yeah, I just had to ask that because that's just something that I am so curious about. I always see you tweeting about it, so that was just funny.
I actually changed my Twitter bio to police chase. It's like whatever. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, so like now we'll actually get on to some marketing stuff, media buying, not police chases. But I just wanted to know, like, do you have any like interesting projects that you've worked on in the past? Like you said, you managed some bands. Like, is there anything like in there that you, or even weird experiences that you came about with those?
From a paid ad side or just in general?
Just in general.
I got to work with some pretty fantastic things. I was part of the team that launched Costco's Pinterest account. That was kind of fun. Just to like get in there and be part of like just that organization and kind of see how they do things. I got to work with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Back in the day, I've been able to, I worked with pretty fun bands along the way. A lot of indie bands that got big. Paramore and bands like that. I got to have some fun with that. But yeah, man, now it's just a lot of times it's just ecom clients, and everybody from smaller projects up to 500,000 to 1.5 million in monthly ad spends, and that's what I've been doing since. And every client is different. Every client is a challenge in its own right. So
like when you say that, I have 100% experienced that as a media buyer. Every account's different. You always got to be testing stuff. So when you're going about scaling an ad account and you're starting around $2,000 to $5,000 a month, maybe even higher, 10,000. How are you going about doing your testing? Are you doing a lot of cold prospecting? And is it a lot of people, I know people aren't mainly performance-based, but some people are. I'm performance-based. Are you somebody that's a big advocate of going performance over brand and stuff like that as well?
100%. Yeah, pretty much everything we do is performance-based. It's just the name of the game. We have some brands that we do a lot on the brand side with, that like, hey, we just want to get our name out there. We do that, but the fun stuff really comes down to the performance. It's right. We're seekers of risk in a way, and by playing it up and really kind of getting in there and managing $1 million a month in ad spend and being responsible for it is a tall order.
100%.
Most, I would say 95, if not 99% of the stuff we do is performance. It's, very little brand. And when we do brand, it's usually like political campaigns that we'll work on, or like I work because I live in Los Angeles. I do a lot with like Hollywood. So I'll do like film launches and like movie trailers and things like that I'll help on. So that's the kind of stuff I'll do that kind of thing.
Fair enough. So the brand's all like top of funnel stuff that eventually it's out there just for them.
It's just eyeballs.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So when you're going about performance and stuff like that, do you prefer doing like custom conversions on Facebook ads? Do you use Facebook standard conversions? Like, where do you stand on that?
So standard events. Facebook performs best when you're using standard events. I've never heard it full on mentioned by Facebook other than by some Facebook ad reps, but they've always said custom conversions don't function the way that you want them to all the time. And a lot of times the ad blockers really take a number on them more than the standard events.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not nerd enough to know the difference, but the custom conversions work, but I just, a purchase is a purchase to me. And a lot of times we just UTM it and can kind of get a baseline for like what's working and what's not based off that, rather than, because I don't want to give Facebook too many options, right? I want Facebook to have one option. I want to have one purchase so that it can get the most purchases no matter what it is. And then from there, we go and dissect it from there and go, okay, this ad drove to these 5 pages, therefore this, kind of go that way. We use a tool called the Attribution app, which does a good job of kind of breaking things down. And there's apps and stuff like that we can use, but standard events all the way.
Okay, awesome. Like I personally, we're about 50-50 split for our agency. So a lot of our bigger clients are actually on custom conversion. So that was something that's curious to me. So that's something we'll be testing going forward as well. But you touched on something as well, UTMs. Do you always go right out from the start UTMs? I do. I know a lot of people, when I've talked to them, don't know what a UTM is, and it kind of drives me up the wall. But what's your take on UTMs, and do you always set them up?
I set up the dynamic ones within Facebook. I think those work the best, especially because my whole thing is I'm wanting to see data, like time on site. I want to see that data. Like when I'm looking at a UTM, I'm looking at purchase and revenue in Google Analytics, but I'm not. Like I'm looking at, all right, which of these landing pages and which of these campaigns is driving the longest time on site? Then I'm dissecting it more from there. but like those are the things I'm looking for: dwell time. Because if I see a campaign that I'm running on Facebook where the people are generally sitting on the website for like 35 seconds instead of the other one, which has 2 minutes, I know that audience probably is the bad audience to be part of, right? So I kind of change it up that way.
Okay, so like that was leading into another question of like what kind of KPIs are you looking for when you're in the ad accounts as well, so that you can kind of continue scaling. Like, what are your like maybe top 5 KPIs that you're looking at?
I mean, obviously, I'm looking at revenue. I mean, that's always the core. Outside of that, I look at our unique ad to purchase to unique ad to cart, or I'm sorry, unique ad to cart to unique purchase ratio. I'm looking at that pretty consistently through the weeks. So I typically don't look at things day to day because so many variances in the week.
Yeah.
Where I'm my own worst critic, and I'll make changes on things when it was just a bad day and tomorrow we're crushing it. So I look at things on a 7-day period always. Some people disagree with me on that, but it's never hurt me. So, but I look at that. I'll look at our AOV across the board on per ad set. I look at our click-through rate just from a baseline of as long as it's meeting our general KPI. And if it goes out of that, that's when I usually kill it, unless it's somehow getting sales, which there's times where that happens.
Yeah.
When we're running videos, I'm looking at our thumb stop ratio, and trying to determine like, is this video getting people to stop and watch it? And then I'm looking at our CPAs. I mean, at the end of the day, look, CPCs and this, all those, they don't really matter. It's like
something you can waste your time on, essentially.
Oh yeah, and it's like you look at the data and like, well, this one got a 0.3% click-through rate and got a 3x, but this one got a 1% and no sales. Why? It's like, well, the 0.3 might have had one person buy a shit ton of products. Excuse my French, but just that's the situation, and so it's kind of hard to base that. And like we look at CPM costs as a general. And then we determine things like we work with skincare companies that have just always expensive CPMs because it's a skincare company and there's hundreds of them, and it's like, so it just depends on that front too.
Okay. Like that was actually very insightful because like I spend a little bit of time on the cost per click and like click-through rates and shit like that. But like, I know there's a lot of time where I'm just like, this one's, like you said, this one's crushing it. And it doesn't really make sense of why, but fuck it. Like, let's scale it and go with it. So when you're scaling ad accounts as well, creative's huge. How do you go about going with testing creative? Are you doing like isolated tests? Are you kind of testing image against video, image all in one kind of ad set? Like, how are you doing those?
So testing is an art, and what we do is we have a controlled group of audiences that's like people that we have bought from us, people that have visited the site like multiple times. Like those are the control groups, the ones that at least have shown enough intent to buy a product from us. And then we have our prospecting test audience, an audience that historically has always worked, and we'll actually weigh, so like each of those are weighed differently, because if we can get a 3x on a remarketing and we can get a 1.5 on prospecting with the same ad, it's probably a good ad, showing that it's working. And like what we'll do is we'll kind of go out from there. If I've got a lot of creative, if I've got like 10 images, 10 videos that I need to test, I'll usually throw those in a dynamic creative test. And then I will try to make sure that I get at least $1,000 to $2,000, if not more. If my AOV is like $50 to $60, I want to spend at least $1,000 on a campaign like that to get an understanding of what piece of that creative is working and what's not. And then I'll usually take the winner from that and I'll put that into a new dynamic creative test with a new group. And I'll just keep always testing.
Breaking it down, essentially.
you're always variant testing, and you're just taking the odd one out and then you're stacking them, right? That's the way to do it. That's the way I do it.
Learned something.
There you go.
We've already started. Definitely people have learned something as well. That's very interesting to know that that's how you do testing if you have a bunch of creatives, because like that seems far more efficient. You let the algorithm kind of figure it out, and then you kind of manually just displace.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you have like brands and kind of brands that you kind of watch out for their creative to kind of get inspiration for your ecom brands, like aside from the direct competitors? Just a general?
Not really. No, I look at stuff. I'm in a couple people's Facebook groups where they will share creative and things like that. But for the most part, I'm always thinking about it, and I'm coming up with ideas. I don't ever want to copy people. And my feeling is if I get too carried away in these creative groups, my brain will shift over. But if I need inspiration, I'll definitely go look. A lot of the companies we work with, we don't have a ton of competitors because I like to work with niches. The riches are in the niches, right?
100%.
And so for me, it's always coming up with new ideas that I think will work and failing 70% of the time and winning 30, And
when you win that 30, you scale shit out of it.
Oh yeah, you feel very successful. I'm the smartest person there is.
Big brain man.
For that very split, I was just actually looking right now while I had it open. I have a client that he just sent me like way too much content. And he's like, "Can you figure out something with this?" I'm like, "Okay." So yeah, I mean, it just I don't know. The creative is the number one lever that we can control, and so the more we can push it, the better. But it all comes down to having a cadence that works, and then not get carried away with if one piece of creative really clicks, figure out why it's clicking. Like there could be could be the hook at the beginning.
Yeah.
The rest of it sucks. So that's the key, is figure that out and then start making more on top of that and have enough of that back down.
Okay. That's a good insight for sure. And then in terms of, like you said, the levers that you can kind of utilize to your advantage, how do you rank those levers in terms of creative, landing page, offer, and also kind of copywriting? Like I know copywriting is part of creative, but like the video, no, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave creative as one.
I think that, all of it is in its, how do I say it? It's all part of the same ecosystem, but the levers that you can quickly pull are is usually the video or the photo, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Typically a landing page, like sometimes I'll use the same landing page for 2 years. If it works, it works.
Yeah.
I'll have seasons where it doesn't work. Landing pages is usually the last thing I do. Like that's like my last resort. If this product is not crushing and it's just man, what's going on? I will then go create like 3 or 4 landing pages and test. But it's like, it literally is my last resort, because creative is the number one lever you can push, and it will save you time, energy, and money by just taking out your iPhone and making a new video of your product if you have it available.
Yeah, get that UGC.
I mean, it works. It always has. And
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of this whole fake UGC thing where it's like you hire people to make testimonials. Because again, I've worked in advertising for a long time. Like in high school, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was working for a advertising agency running commercials, and like we worked with the FCC. Like we had to have everything signed. And it's just like, I don't like the idea of paying people to endorse your product. I just don't think it's authentic, and I think it kind of takes away. Because a lot of times you see the same people.
Yes.
Right? Oh,
the crossover.
And there's an agency that does it, and they do it really well. But it's just, I don't know. That's just my personal thing. I'm just like, I want to. Whenever we get a testimony, like from a client or from a customer, most of the time they're terrible, like quality. And I kind of like it because it brings out authenticity in it way more.
It stands out so much.
Yeah, and like you can make a mountain out of that. Like it's just you need the right editor to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah, 100%. And like what we found as well at our agency is like our graphic designer / editor is probably the most important person at our agency, and definitely compensated towards that, because man, this guy will pump out creative like crazy, and so creative as well as a brain. Just the guy's thinking angles as a marketing person, but also doing it well with creative. So like we've definitely seen the same thing. Like creative's massive. And then in terms of like angles, how often are you swapping and trying out angles, like to push different kind of tension points and kind of bring out people's desire for certain things? Do you test that?
I do. I'm testing that right now on a couple projects. I focus on problem one always, and then if that doesn't work, then I start moving into other things. I focus on seasonal stuff as well. So I'll kind of move around that front as well. It just depends on, it depends on the season and what's going on. So like right now we're pushing a lot of like stay at home stuff. We're pushing a lot of like angles around that kind of stuff. We're taking new photos inside houses. We're just trying to like change the moment, so to speak, and kind of play that out.
You've kind of said it on your Twitter before, and like you said, you played to the zeitgeist, right? Like I've kind of taken your heat on that and did that. And to be honest, thank you. It's worked for my clients. Appreciate it. But like, honestly, like if you haven't yet, people out there kind of like shift like the angles of stuck inside, even if you're like a clothing company and stuff like that. Like I work with a few clothing companies, like we've marketed around Zoom conferences, looking good on Zoom conferences. And like, it's nuts that it's worked as an angle like that. But like current times, people have that desire and they need something different, right?
Yep. Why change the conversation? Just join it.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Don't break something that's not broken, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then something I want to do is kind of shift towards the mindset. Like, there's days where you feel like the top of the world. There's days where you're like, holy hell, like, why isn't this working? And then there's days where you're just like, okay, things are okay. Not too bad, not too worse. How do you compensate with like dealing with those not mood swings, but like, I guess myself, I've been impacted by like an ad account. I look at it, I'm like, holy shit. Like, but like, do you like work out? Do you go running? Like, how do you compensate those kind of things?
Yeah. I mean, I've worked in this industry a long time. And I think it comes with age. It does. I mean, being a little on that front, it does. Mm-hmm. Because you realize that your value is not tied to the performance of a Facebook ad account. And I try to be very open with people about that, because I think a lot of people struggle so much if it's not working. And 90% of the time, it has nothing to do with you. It's completely out of your control. Mm-hmm. And case in point, like we're seeing Facebook just crush the last 3 weeks. Like, I mean, there's ad accounts that we're running that it's like, what? Like, why is this thing? And it's like, it gives you exactly why. The big media buyers, the huge companies, the Targets, the Walmarts, the Best Buys, like the big companies, they're not running ads right now. Entertainment, no one in the entertainment world is running ads right now.
True.
Politics, no one in politics is running ads right now. Mm-hmm. The only people who are running ads are the D2C brands. Now you take the D2C brands, and again, there'll be other stuff, but just bear with me here. You have the D2C brands who are all spending collectively probably less than $1 billion a month. If like maybe they're spending, I don't know, 750 million collectively.
Yeah.
Now times that by what? 4 billion? I don't know how many people are on Facebook, but like 3 billion, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, at least.
I don't know. So you do crunch the numbers, and suddenly there's a lot of opportunity. And so, when we get so hard on ourselves in like January and February, when things were like super difficult and performance was down, we're like, I'm a failure, but no, you're not. It's Michael Bloomberg put up $100 million into Facebook on top of everybody else, and you're just playing. You're getting stuck in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, don't beat yourself up over it. It's just, the thing about it is you just have to constantly be pivoting and be okay with pivoting.
Yeah.
You have to, in this industry, you have to have a thick skin and be able to be okay with failure.
Yeah.
If you're not, this is not the business for you. And you need to, at the end of the day, turn your computer off and walk away knowing you tried your best. And if you're sitting here and you're working 14 to 18 hours a day, slaving over this thing, nervous as can be, taking it on your family and your loved ones, you should not be in this industry because it's going to eat you alive. So,
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I'm very, very passionate about this because, I was there. Like I stressed to be like, it would be like, I thought I was going to lose all my hair at one point because I was just like tearing my hair. Like, I'm just like, just trying to play it up. And it's like, it's not worth it. It's like, find a project because again, sell me an iPhone, right? Like anybody could sell an iPhone because the brand is there.
Yeah.
But try selling me like a fan. Like there's a billion fans out there. There's too much competition.
Yeah.
There's one iPhone. There's a billion fans. And so I think people get so carried away with that. So.
No, I definitely agree with that. And like having a thick skin and kind of like you said, not being tied to the worth of an ad account, but like for people that do you work out? Like, because 100%, like I found myself in this quarantine going for runs on the old treadmill far more often just to keep sane.
Yeah.
But like, do you have anything to deal with stress and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I do a couple things. I have a home gym in my other office downstairs. I've got weights and elliptical down here. And then every day I go for at least an hour walk around my neighborhood.
Nice.
Typically I take walks and talk on the phone to clients.
Yep.
So all my clients, they know like, oh, Dave's out for a walk. That's usually what I do. I eat right, I'm pretty damn healthy. And I just try to maintain it because like my biggest thing is I don't get enough sleep. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and, by 8 o'clock at night, I'm usually out. I'm cold. I'm done. But other than that, I try to do all the recommendations.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. So, also in terms, like, to be honest, you pretty much covered everything that I want to go through mindset with your one little, kind of not spiel, but it was, you laid everything out on the table, man. You laid everything on the table. Take it or leave it. And I wholeheartedly agreed with it. And I just wanted to ask a few more questions.
Yeah,
So I work with a couple like telehealth companies right now, and we're experiencing a little bit of a boom for like the virtual care stuff. Do you think there's any kind of avenue of going LinkedIn ads whatsoever? Because I've never really done too much LinkedIn ads, but these people are kind of seeking doctors and clinicians and stuff like that.
Yeah. LinkedIn works pretty well for B2B. It's just really expensive.
Okay.
You need to understand that paying $50 for a cost per click is a normal thing.
Shit. Okay.
It's not Facebook. It's a different beast, but that click is going to probably result in a sale, right? It's a lot more intent.
Okay.
So the telehealth world is it's expensive, and you have to be wary of that. It's not an e-commerce brand.
No, yeah, 100%.
So.
Okay. I just wanted to get some insight on that. Like they're looking to spend like anywhere from like $15,000 to kind of just do a test. So I just wanted to see if that was something that's kind of worth it. But like you said, high intent.
Yeah, if I were you, I'd run a video view campaign targeting your target demo of who you're trying to reach, and then retarget them with like an in-mail campaign kind of thing.
Okay.
Do stuff like that.
Okay. And then in terms of like other platforms that you work with? Like you work heavily with Facebook. Do you work with like Snapchat, TikTok, anything like that?
Yeah, I've been doing Snapchat since the Pixel was integrated into the system. So about 2.5, 3 years ago. I do a lot with Snap. It depends on the season and the client. Some clients just don't want to do it. I can't get them to. But I've always been running ads in Snapchat. I work with TikTok, do a little bit on TikTok. It's not there. It's not there at all yet.
Okay.
It's very, I try not to talk about it even on Twitter because it's not I don't want people to be like, oh, it's going to crush. It's not going to crush. It's a very top of funnel, very awareness. Their system is not in place. It's coming and they're working hard on it. And I respect that. Mm-hmm. Pinterest, I do a lot with Pinterest, depending on the time of year. So like leading up to Q4 is usually when I ramp Pinterest up, and go pretty heavy on Pinterest then.
Really?
Yeah. And then Google Shopping, I'll do Google Shopping, YouTube. I keep Google search and for Google search and display for the Google guys. I'm just like, you guys handle it. Usually they handle Google Shopping too, but if I have to, I'll set that up. So.
Fair enough. So you touched on Pinterest and doing it heavily in Q4. Why is that? And like, I just explain the reasoning a little bit?
So the reason why is I'm always looking to blow as much, blow, I guess is probably the wrong word, but get as many eyeballs as humanly possible on our products and services that we're running. Okay. And Pinterest in the Q4 is still cheaper in terms of like intent and eyeballs than a lot of these platforms. The CPMs rise, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for the cheapest CPMs across the board, wherever that may be. Usually it's Pinterest. And so I start ramping up in like August. And then I'll get to like, I'll spend like, some clients I'll spend $10,000 a day on Pinterest ads.
Okay.
And you see it. You do see it. All these people are just like, Pinterest doesn't work. It's a terrible platform. Now, it's a long tail game, and if you are not in it to win it in the long term, you will fail. Everybody is so spoiled by Facebook, by getting all these immediate results. And
yeah,
that is not how it works. It's like Google's the same way. You have to just give it time. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah.
So in terms of like Pinterest, like I guess like the user's kind of consumption is, oh, I like this, pin it, save it for later. And then you're kind of raising that re-awareness of, oh shit, I've already pinned this, and kind of it's towards that season.
Yeah. And like you're not charged for, the beautiful thing about Pinterest is you can run Pinterest campaigns for conversion campaigns. And if somebody takes that ad and pins it to their wall, when you turn that ad off, it doesn't go away. It's just a pin.
True.
So you have that long tail happening there where you don't have that on Facebook. When you turn an ad off, an ad just disappears.
Yeah.
On Pinterest, it stays. And so that's one thing that you have to go back and look, 6 months later and be like, hey, did this ad actually generate? And a lot of times like, oh, it generated a lot more than I thought it would. And so we do a lot of like heavy blogging. That we post on Pinterest and then run traffic campaigns. Try to get as much traffic as we possibly can. Turn those ads off and let the organic take over from there. And then we'll just be driving a ton of like, organic quality traffic to our site because enough Pinterest bloggers posted it that it just takes off a life on its own. So.
Yeah, and like you're saying, like it's all that traffic that you're paying for in terms of SEO, time on site, that's only going to help you or like the site, right? So
yeah, and especially I have a interesting story that I did with I did a blog post very similar like the BuzzFeed articles, right? Like the 10 things, and I did a DIY blog post to one of our clients. And it was like 10 DIY hacks to try blah blah blah. And I took a photo with my iPhone of like the hack. Made it look very much like a mom blogger did it. That post, I think it generated like something like $125,000 over a year. It all organic. It just kept driving because in the post was embedded links to our products. And it was just like, it was such a simple idea. And, people they don't want to take the time to do it. So they just don't do Pinterest. And so I'm always a person that likes to zag when everyone else is zigging.
Yeah. And this is giving me so many thoughts right now. So like I have a coffee company that we work with. She's actually asked about doing Pinterest, and I kind of never really knew what a response would be, because like I've dabbled with it, but like now that you're talking about it, the long tail is where it's at, and like just getting that user base and eyeballs. And so like how cheap of a CPM would you say?
You can look at like $150 to $3 CPMs on Pinterest.
Okay.
I mean, it's cheap. It's not Snapchat cheap, but it's cheap.
Yeah. No, it's still good.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn has the highest CPMs. If I remember right, it's been a while. But
like you said, $50 cost per click.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a $50 cost per click, and it's going to a sale. But.
Yeah, exactly. If the sale's worth it, it's worth it. AOV. But yeah, and that's pretty much most of my questions. We're just going to go to a technical question fire round, yay or nay. That's really all it is.
Cool.
So first one, CBO or ABO?
CBO.
Okay. Cost caps, do you use them?
Yes.
How often?
Oh,
sorry, I just had to ask that.
40% of the time.
Okay. Do you scale by specific percentages? Yes or no?
15% every 72 hours.
15% every 72 hours?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been doing 20% every sale. So this is very interesting to know. Okay.
That's just me, man. Yeah.
Okay. Images or video? Which one do you prefer?
Gun to my head. Images.
Shit. All right. Video, curated content, like very professional, or UGC?
UGC.
Okay. And then who are 3 people that you'd recommend that we interview or talk with?
I would talk to Andrew Foxwell, just because he's my friend and he's got his podcast. And he does
Okay.
I would talk with that's a good question. I'm trying to think of like a couple others. Are you looking for someone on paid social mainly?
Pretty much anything digital marketing.
Josh Baer for email, because he's really good.
Okay.
And not many people know Josh. And then I would also connect with his name is Florian. He's in Germany, and he's like the best Facebook. He's so good at Facebook, and it's like the things he does, he just blows my mind every time.
Okay. I believe it, and I will look forward to trying to connect with them. If you could kind of intro me to them, that would be unreal. Sure. I appreciate having you on the podcast. We're pretty much wrapping it up. I don't want to waste any more of your time. You're busy. I know how it feels to finish the day at like 5:41 right now, or probably you're not even finished. But yeah, thank you so much, David. I'll be looking out for your police chase videos and live streams. And just I look forward to maybe talking to you again.
Yeah, dude.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
You bet.